To successfully stitch knits on the Bernette 77, there are a few adjustments we have to make. I have already threaded the machine all-purpose thread or 100% polyester. I've also inserted a stretch needle size 14. A size 14 will work for most knits. To select our stitch, we're going to go over to our zigzag, but we're going to take the length to 3 and our width down to 0.5. And this makes an ever so slight zigzag stitch, so that way we can sew our seam but still maintain the stretch of the fabric. We're going to go ahead and move over to our presser foot pressure control, and we're going to take it down to 30, and then we're going to X out, and this will get you started on stitching with knits. These settings work for lightweight to midweight knits, but you may need to play with them depending on how lightweight or heavy it is. So now we're ready to stitch. For this example, I'm going to be using this bamboo jersey, and as you can see, it stretches quite a bit. So we're going to go ahead and sew a seam. So I'm going to make sure my edges are nice and even, and I marked my seam allowance here with this masking tape, and we're going to be using 1/2 inch for this example. I'm going to put my fabric under the foot, and before I lower it, I'm going to engage the dual feed on this machine. And what this is going to do is it's going to make sure that our fabric is being fed at a consistent rate, so that way we don't end up with any wonky edges. So we're going to line up our fabric, lower our foot, and just slowly start stitching. And with knits, you definitely want to take your time because they do tend to slide around sometimes. But once you get more comfortable, you can go ahead and speed up. We're going to just stitch all the way to the end and then cut our thread. And this is the end result. You can see that our seam still has some stretch to it, and our edges are not wavy and they're nice and straight. So that's the right side and then the wrong side. For my next example, I have 2 pieces of ponte, and this is a kind of a heavier yet stretchy knit, and it also stretches in both directions. This fabric is used for pants and jackets, so it's a little bit heavier, and although a zigzag stitch is applicable in this situation, it's better to use a straight stitch. To go from our bamboo jersey to the ponte, we're going to go back over to our straight stitch, and in this situation we definitely don't want it at a 2.5 length. We want to make it a little bit longer. We either want a 3.5 or a 4. Most of the time I tend to have this machine at a 4, and it works just fine. To stitch our seam on the ponte fabric, we're going to have the exact same setup as before with our dual feed and our stretch needle. So we're going to simply put the fabric under the foot, making sure that our edges are even, and lower our foot, and then begin stitching. And since a ponte is much more stable than a jersey is, we can go ahead and just speed up a little bit. And then maybe do a back stitch and cut our thread. So this is our end result, and our edges are nice and straight and not wavy, and the seam has stretch to it. And even with ponte, you definitely still want that stretchability. So just to recap, we used a narrow zigzag stitch at a 0.5 width and a 3 length with our presser foot pressure control set at 30. For the ponte fabric, we used a straight stitch at a 4 length at center needle position with our presser foot pressure control at 30 as well. You can also use the zigzag stitch on your ponte, but as I said, since it's much more stable, you can get away with using a straight stitch. These settings will help get you started in the right direction with stitching with knits.